Now, even though I was just 2 years old at the time, I vividly remember my first flight. Not because it was my first time in the air, but it's because it was my first time trying chocolate milk. The sugary goodness, 40,000 feet in the air, with a sunset on my right and Curious George playing on the screen in front of me. It was a dream for a 2-year-old. And to add on to this excitement, my parents kept telling me that the new home I was going to, I'd be filled with so many new friends. My new home would be filled with opportunity. Where was this 14-hour mystical flight taking me? A state right here in America, up north where one day we all aspire to visit. New Jersey. Jersey City, New Jersey was my first home, not New York City. But the reason I tell you all of this is because I want you to pull out your phones and search up New Jersey. Chances are, you'll see a website titled nj.gov. And if you scroll down on that homepage, you'll eventually reach a section titled Community and Wellness. You'll see services such as disability services, animal welfare, veteran services. But is a service missing that, if implemented, would benefit 1/4 of New Jersey's entire population? Immigration services. The thing is, there has been a clear need for the issue, because a study done by Dr. Amelia Durr of University of Washington revealed that 45% of the immigrant women in New Jersey have clinical depression, yet only 10% seek active help. Now compare this to what's going on in the political tab of that same website. You'll see article after article, headline after headline, discussing deportation policies, immigration policy, border law. And I ask, why do we invest so much time and energy deciding who leaves and who stays in the country, but not nearly as enough energy discussing and taking care of the immigrants already in the country? Many activists, many organizations are trying to address this issue because people think that immigration policy just ends at the border. But for many immigrants, that's where it truly begins. That's where the mental health struggle truly begins. I, on this stage, have a very similar goal. I too want to break the stigma, but a completely different way of addressing it. I want to discuss with all of you the neurological processes that go behind this mental health struggle that immigrants face. Because I believe that informed action is the most meaningful action. Now, 13 years ago, me and my family moved here, and when we did, I was fluent in the language I spoke. I could read, write, and most importantly, I could speak it perfectly. I was so good that I was enrolled in an annual speaking competition. And by the time I was in 3rd grade, I had won 3 consecutive championships in that foreign language. 4th grade, I decided to take a little break. I moved to a new neighborhood, made some new friends, and learned English thoroughly. In 5th grade, I decided to go back to the competition, and I was more confident than ever because this competition was my thing. I always win. I stepped on that pedestal, my hands were sweaty, but I was confident. And ladies and gentlemen, that might have been the best speech I've ever given. Every emotion was hit, every line was delivered. And I walked off that stage knowing full well that I had already won the competition. It wasn't until I got backstage that the stagehand comes up to me and says, "Good job, buddy." I say, "Thank you." And then he says, "Well, what happened out there?" What happened? I delivered the best speech of my life. That's what happened. What are you talking about? He says, "Are you sure about that?" And I'm confused. That's when my mom comes up to me and shows me a video of what actually went down on that pedestal. My first 2 sentences were brilliant. And in the 3rd sentence, I do something completely unimaginable. I switched languages. I started speaking English at a foreign language competition. And the rest of that 4-minute and 30-second video is just me going on and on speaking in English. What happened? What the stagehand was wondering, what my mom was wondering, what everyone in the audience was wondering. What happened? To fully understand what went down that evening, I must introduce you to a neurological change that every single person in this audience experiences. But one that is scaled by a factor of 4 in the mind of an immigrant. Synaptic pruning due to cultural assimilation. What does that mean? Synapses are basically the connections in your brain that transmit information to various regions. Synaptic pruning is the elimination or the strengthening of these connections. The brain basically decides which one of these connections are necessary and which could be lived without. Normally, this should result in a much more confident, adaptable, and efficient brain. But for immigrant children, this isn't exactly the case, because this process occurs during childhood and adolescence, the same time that many immigrant children, such as myself, are figuring out their identity. Here's how it works. Since the environment is constantly changing for immigrants, we're changing social expectations, we're changing cultural norms, we're changing the very language we're used to dreaming in. And this leads to the brain exhibiting a quality that neuroscientists call environment-dependent plasticity. This basically means that the environment, the area I've grown up in my entire life, defines who I am. What's more is that when immigrants get stuck in this constant battle between who they were and who they need to be, they feel what's known as cognitive dissonance. And I'll get back to that later, but this is exactly what happened that evening. The years I spent practicing English, getting used to this new country, I'd forgotten my native language. My brain decided it no longer needs it. It made way for fitting in, and it made way for survival. This is the hidden cost of cultural assimilation. It's more than just learning a new language. It's watching a part of yourself fade away. And it gets worse because once immigrants get stuck between reaching for a culture and trying to hold on to their first one, they feel, like I said before, chronic cognitive dissonance. This basically means their beliefs, their values are all in conflict with each other continuously. And this leads to hyperactivity in the part of the brain known as the anterior cingulate cortex, which is in charge of emotional regulation. And this is what ties everything back to mental health. Because some common symptoms of chronic cognitive dissonance is anxiety, stress, and clinical depression. For many immigrants, this isn't just a biological process, it's an introspective one. And to show you what I mean, if I asked all of you to close your eyes and ask you a very simple question, who are you? Chances are you're relying on past experiences, you're relying on who you want to be to answer that question. But what if when you close your eyes, you see none of that? All you see is a messy mix of cultures, an unclear identity, and a battle between who you want to be versus who society needs you to be. And this is where it hits home for me. Because when I was writing this TED Talk, I remember sitting down with my mom and asking her, what exactly happened on the flight here? And for the most part, I did get it right. I did order chocolate milk, but I was missing 2 key characters. Here's how it went down. The flight attendant comes up to my 2 new friends I'd made in the row next to me, and she asked them, let's call them Ted and Ed for the story. She asked them, Ted, Ed, what do you want to drink today? And they answered, chocolate milk. I, overhearing this, whenever she asked me, I too answer chocolate milk. The truth is, I had no idea what this drink was. I've never had it before, but since my new friends were having it, I too had to have it. Turns out that the next 2 hours I spent complaining about how horrible it tasted. I hated every second of it. But then I ordered 2 more bottles when they were with me. What happened? My brain started rewiring itself, and the wheels hadn't even touched the ground. This is the part that no news headline, no politician, no story is ever going to be able to reveal to all of you. The thousands of chocolate milks we drink each day, the jobs we work, the names we shorten so it's easier on our Starbucks order, and the accents we try to eliminate so that we don't get bullied. And unfortunately, everyone in this room isn't a senator or a politician or a global leader, so we can't exactly change world mentality and policy in one night. What I do see is change makers. I see people who are willing to take this newfound action and actually have an impact on their community. Here's 2 things you can do with this newfound neurological knowledge. Number 1, if you ever meet an immigrant, forget everything I just said. Acknowledge they've been through neurological struggle, but see them as just another human, not someone that needs your saving. Because the truth is, they're just trying to fit in, and everyone in their own right is also trying to fit in. And number 2, if you see a mental health struggle in an immigrant, I want you to do one thing for me. Actually, no, do anything except stay silent. Do anything except do one thing. I want you to reach out to their family, reach out to their friends, reach out to anyone who you believe can help them. Be the person that calls them to your friend group. Be the person that gives them a helping hand, because the last thing you want is their blood on your hands. And now this doesn't just go for immigrants. It goes for any person you meet struggling with a mental health issue. It's more than what you see on the outside. It's what's going on up here. And that's the thing. The brain is one organ that unites all of us, regardless of where we're from, where we're going. And every immigrant mind understood is an immigrant mind put to rest. Thank you so much for your time.